Greetings and welcome. My name is Mike Benkett. I am your host. I am a bass player and songwriter from the Gem City, Dayton, Ohio. Hey, this right here is the first episode of 2023. My guest is Olivia Frances. Olivia Frances is a songwriter and artist originally from Ohio, but currently doing the work in Nashville, Tennessee. Yeah, that's right. Today on the You Could Be My Aramis podcast, a wonderful, talented songwriter and someone who I was very happy to meet a few years ago, actually, before the pandemic, when we happened to play a show together. I think you'll enjoy this conversation and Olivia's personality. Let's get to it. Hey there, Olivia. Happy Friday. It is Friday, right?
Hi, Mike. Yes, it is. And it's so great to be with you today.
Hey, it's been a while since I got a chance to see you, so it's kind of cool that we get to talk with the modern technology.
It is cool. Yeah, I'm happy to chat with you and hope you've had a wonderful week.
Oh, I've had better weeks, but we're here to talk about you. And I really want to dissect the Olivia Frances songwriting brain.
Yay, absolutely. I'm happy to share what's in my brain as best I can.
So you're a very experienced songwriter, performer, artist. You have, 3 albums out?
Yes, that's right. 3 albums out. And well, thank you for saying that. I'm a big learner. I feel like I strive to constantly learn and grow. So I appreciate you saying that. And I've been at it for a while and I love what I do.
So we'll go in reverse chronological order because you actually have a brand new single out and I would like you to talk about that one.
Sure, absolutely. So yes, I released a brand new song on Wednesday, December 7th of 2022. It's called Harmonica for Hanukkah. And, it's just a fun Nashville rockin', upbeat Hanukkah song. I'm calling it my first original holiday song release, or first holiday release in general. I've never really shared a holiday song of any sort, and I thought I'd go big on this release. So I'm super excited it's out in the world, and it's received good feedback so far, so I'm grateful for that.
I have never heard a Nashville style Hanukkah song before. You might be the first person who's attempted that.
I might be. I don't know of another Nashville songwriter who has released a Hanukkah song, but that makes me want to go do some research.
So getting into how this came together, and I think this will be very instructive for people that listen that don't know how much work that musicians like you put into what they do. When exactly did you write this song?
For sure. I wrote this song I'm pretty sure it was 2019 with my good friend, Mike Astrakan. Him and we met back in 2014 at the NSAI Song Camp, which stands for Nashville Songwriters Association International. It was here in Nashville. And it was just like a big workshop. We learned about writing melodies and lyrics, and there were some hit writers that came in. And so that's where we initially connected. And then we've written over 70 songs together, which is pretty wild at this point. And it was Mike's idea to write a Hanukkah song. He's Jewish, I'm Jewish, and he was like, would you want to try to write a Hanukkah song? And I'm like, yeah, why not? So we did, and I was kind of sitting on it for a while. I wasn't sure if I wanted to release it or not, especially because I'm really more of a folk pop artist, and like holiday songs I was concerned would be like, oh, like, is she like now a holiday singer or what? But I feel like what I've learned is holiday songs are kind of in their own genre, they're kind of in their own boat. So it's been really fun to kind of do something out of the box for me and release a Hanukkah song.
All right. So co-written in 2019. So was it this year when you decided that you're actually going to record it and release it?
I actually started recording it last year, and I wanted to release it last year, but we kind of ran out of time. Last year, Hanukkah was super early. It was like November 28th or something, because Hanukkah always falls at a different time depending on like the moon and the sun, which is pretty cool. But anyway, ran out of time. And then I was just like, okay, well, I'll be prepared for next year. So all we had to do back in September, my producer, shout out to Pat Lassiter. He's amazing. He's here in town at Riverfront Recording Studios. Just jumped in the studio with him in September. We did some more mixing, and then pretty much I went to get it mastered. And so there weren't that many steps left to do.
All right. So the instrumentation, you actually got all that tracked last year, and the vocals. So it's basically just touching it up this year.
Yeah, and of course doing all the content, which nowadays is such a huge task. It's like the photo shoot and what are you going to post? How are you going to promote it? All that stuff. So I'm just still in the. I posted some things to get people to learn that I have a holiday song coming out and whatnot. But there's more posts in the works that will be shared in the coming weeks. So stay tuned.
I did see what looked like a behind the scenes of your photo session, and man, you're right about content. It just seems like extra work on top of the stuff, we all want to write and then record, but then you have to do all this extra stuff.
100%. Yeah. And it's really wild nowadays because it kind of feels like if you don't have all that content to back up your song, it's almost like it's not even worth releasing because you have to have things to like say about it and promote it. And I mean, not like it's not worth releasing in reality, but it kind of feels that way just because you really, I feel like as an artist, it can just be hard sometimes to feel like you're always shouting from the rooftops, like, hey, guess what? I have a new song. And I know that everyone's news feeds are like flooded with so much information from people and different photos and videos and whatever, but like, here's my video and like, I have a video. And so just showing up and having content is important for sure.
Yes. So listeners, let's make Olivia's hard work worthwhile. You can find Harmonica for Hanukkah anywhere that you stream music.
That's right.
And you should go listen to it. It's a good song. You don't even have to observe Hanukkah to enjoy it. It's a well-written pop song, I would say.
Yes, for Jews and non-Jews alike to enjoy and dance and sing to all 8 nights of Hanukkah too.
All right, so it seems like since you said you've written 70 co-written songs with this gentleman who is very tastefully named, might I add, excellent name. I'm going to say that co-writing is a big part of your career as an artist. Then,
yes, absolutely. So, in Nashville, collaboration is really popular and sometimes preferred because it's so great to have something on the calendar and be like, okay, like Wednesday at 2:00, I am showing up at my friend's house and we are going to write a song and it is planned and it is going to happen and all these things. And also it's one of those ideas where, it really takes a village in the music industry to get a project off the ground and running. And the more folks you have in your corner, the better. So I feel super thankful to have just met so many songwriters who live here and elsewhere. And I'm always open to collaboration. I've worked with folks from, at this point, all around the world, lots of Zoom sessions and in-person sessions as well. It's just a really fun way to make sure that, you have time in your day, in your week or your month to write music. And it's always just a fun time. I enjoy it a lot.
So let's say it is songwriting time for you. What is the first tool that you reach for?
Sure. So the first tool I reach for is on my iPhone. I have a note on my iPhone called Hookbook. It's my Hookbook where I keep all of my ideas. So I would just say throughout the week, let's say I might think of an idea here, like somebody might in a conversation say something to me and I think, wow, that could be a song, and I write it down. And then maybe before I go to bed, I have a little melody idea, or maybe I'm practicing guitar and I have a little like lick that I'm playing or something. I'll always record those things so that when I do have a co-writing session, I show up prepared. And usually I'll say, here are 3 ideas. Maybe here's like a title idea, here's a lyric idea, and here's a guitar part. Or oftentimes in Nashville, it's very much a title driven kind of thing where once you have a title, you can kind of go from there and you kind of have an idea already. So oftentimes songs, for me at least, start with a title. Harmonica for Hanukkah started with a title. That was Mike's idea and I absolutely loved it. And we kind of went from there. So the title helps form the song for sure.
On that one, it felt like you might have gone through an exercise to see how many words you could make that rhymed with harmonica. But it worked, though.
Thank you. Yeah, we definitely did make a list and made a list of, I think especially when you're writing thematic songs, just actually like brain dumping, like, okay, Hanukkah, okay, menorah, dreidel, Torah, like just different kind of images that come to mind. That can be a really helpful exercise when writing music.
Yeah, and listeners, I'm not saying that you have to break it down like that, but, I guess, as songwriters, we kind of listen different than other people, right? So when I heard it, I was like, oh, that's really clever. Oh, that was really clever. So I kind of imagined what that brainstorm session must have been like.
Yeah, we were laughing. That co-write was full of laughter. We were just cracking up with the different concepts. And I feel like the song came together pretty easily. And it's funny, some co-writes, usually a co-write is 3 hours long. And so sometimes after 3 hours, you have like a fully written song, and other times maybe it takes 2 or 3 co-writing sessions to write the full song. But I definitely feel like it can be really special when you just have a song and within the 3 hours, it's like, wow, we have a full song right here in front of us. That's amazing. Like that was easier to write than some, and those are really special.
And, if there's a lot of laughter, I guess it doesn't feel quite as much like work that way.
No, yeah, it's so funny how, different co-writing sessions really have their own vibes, and some are more serious than others. And of course, like the song topic too can change, the vibe of a session. But sometimes you'll go into a room and it's like everyone's really thinking hard, and like, I don't know, sometimes, especially if you're in a write with 2 other people, which is like 3 writers total. Sometimes I've done 4, but I prefer 2 people because I feel like that's enough. And the more people you get, the more like differing opinions you get, and it can be a little challenging. But yeah, it's always great when you have a session where like the 2 or 3 of you just really are like throwing ideas back and forth. And, I'm always like, no shame, like any idea is a good idea. Sometimes you throw out something, you're like, wait, that's actually not great, or whatever it is. But I feel like you have to be open with that person. And oftentimes, like for me, and I'm sure other writers too, like I end up sharing so much about my life to write a song with somebody, because I'm like, wait, I was inspired to write this because of this thing that happened in my life. And like, let me tell you all about it. And so it's like a therapy session.
How do you know when a song's done?
Yeah. So, I think for that question, I've learned over time, like when I was first starting out as a songwriter, I was a member of the NSAI, and I would submit my songs to get feedback. And oftentimes, they'd come back and let's say the critiquer might say like, oh yeah, like this song idea is awesome, but I get a little bored in the second verse because you don't present new information, or something like that. Like that critique session was super helpful starting out, because then I'd be like, wait, yeah, that's true. Or maybe I wouldn't take feedback and be like, actually, I like how it is. But I think at some point, I have about 300 songs in my catalog. And so I feel like I've gotten to the point where my rule of thumb is I write a song and I sit on it for a few days, maybe even a few weeks or a few months, and I'll go back to it. And if I go back to it and I'm like, wow, this is really tight, like this feels really good, it feels really just like fully formed into the world as a song baby, then I'll feel it and be like, okay, like it's good to go. And then other times I might go back and be like, wait, actually this doesn't make sense, or I should specify this detail or something like that. And then again, like I still rely on feedback if I want it. Like there's a group in Nashville called Song Salon, and they do feedback sessions, and that's when a bunch of songwriters basically get together and share songs with each other and seek feedback. And so those sessions are really helpful.
300 is a lot of songs.
It is. And it's been a lot of hard work, but recently I was thinking to myself, wow, like these 300 songs, they're all assets, like they're all pieces of like magic that started on a blank piece of paper. So yeah, it's pretty amazing.
So you come out of a session, you've written some songs. How do you all determine which artist is going to record the song? Or do you leave it up to allow more than one artist to go track it?
Yeah, that's a great question. So sometimes it's more obvious because there's a lot of folks in town who are songwriters only, as in they have no intention to be artists. They don't want to tour. They don't want to have a Spotify page of all the songs, all that. So if I'm in a room with another songwriter or 2 writers, it's pretty obvious that it'll probably be me who will record the song, unless we decide to pitch it to another artist, which sometimes happens if we write a song and I'm like, I don't really think this song like really fits with me or my brand, or I don't want this to be like a message that I talk about, then we might pitch it. But when I write with other artists who are friends of mine or whatnot, which does happen, sometimes that is a question. And sometimes we'll start with the session being like, okay, we're going to write a song today. Do you want it to be for you or me? Or like, what's the, what do we think? And so usually it's good to try to establish that, but also sometimes that can kind of be a little like boxing yourself in a bit. So you're just like, let's just write whatever comes to us. And then if it's your song, great. If it's my song, great. I've never had a situation where myself and somebody else cut a song, but never say never.
I like this because, I'm outside of the Nashville bubble, so I don't, and speaking, of course, for the musicians in our town, when we write, I don't think any of us write for other people generally because it's not part of the culture here. So I find this to be a very interesting, a different manner of doing songwriting. So you could go to a co-write and go in knowing that what you're going to come out with is not necessarily something that you're going to put on a record.
Yes, definitely. And there's even another option too, which is sometimes people will say like, oh, let's write for TV and film. Like there are different, what do they call them? Basically like pitch summaries sometimes that some people have access to, or some songwriters, have more of a connection to the film industry. And so they'll say like, hey, I got a pitch to write a song, then it's going to be sad and there should be a mandolin in it and it should have the word family in it. And like, would you be up for writing, trying to write a song for that? And I'm like, yeah, sure. So there's lots of different purposes for the songs. And then sometimes you don't necessarily have a direction for it, but you hope that the song finds its way at some point. Maybe the direction isn't clear like the day you write the song, but then a month later you get an opportunity and you're like, wait, I just wrote a song that would be perfect for this thing, for either this artist or this opportunity. So it's very fun.
Going forward, what do you think in your music career you're going to end up doing more of? Do you wish to be a songwriter that gets cuts on? I mean, I guess we would all like to get cuts on records that sell 1 million copies, but would you prefer to be a songwriter, or do you still get a whole lot of thrill out of performing and touring and that kind of thing?
Yeah, for sure. I would say I still absolutely love touring and performing, and it's definitely easier to be your own artist and to have the wherewithal to be like, I want to cut this song. Whereas if you're pitching a song that you really believe in to another artist, it's like they could say yay or nay, and that's pretty out of your control. But I love, as an artist, like really believing in something and then releasing it and watching it take its course. And that whole process is just really sacred. And yeah, so I hope to be, touring a lot more in 2023. And although this year I did tour a whole bunch, but like touring in the same spots, like of course, coming to Dayton. I have to give Dayton a shout out because I feel like the Dayton music community is so rocking. There's so much great stuff happening in that city. And I mean, growing up in Cincinnati, like adjacent to Dayton, it's just really wonderful to see so much happening musically in that city.
As a town, we punch above our weight for how big the city is, or for how big it's not, I should say, based on how good our music community is here.
Yes. I'm thinking about the Levitt Pavilion, and then,
it's wonderful.
Yellow Cab Tavern.
Yep.
And of course, that street, I'm blanking on the name.
Fifth Street.
Fifth Street. Yes. Thank you. There's so many great opportunities there.
I was kind of a loaded question because having seen you play and having seen the way you radiate joy when you're playing a song, which I can tell is totally not fake. I know you like playing. So I asked a question that I already knew the answer to.
Well, I'm glad it shines through. That's a good thing. And thank you for noticing.
Yeah. What got you started in the music? How long have you been at this?
Yeah, I started playing piano when I was 6 years old. My parents wanted me to start learning, and I actually hated lessons. I loved playing, but when it came to practicing, I remember my dad would have to like sit next to me and make sure I practiced, and I never liked sight reading music. And so when I was 12, I decided to switch to guitar because I thought it would be easier, which I feel like looking back, I think guitar in some ways is easier. However, my piano teacher, she had never taught me chords. In other words, I would just learn like individual song after song, which made everything seem very disconnected to me on piano. And I still sometimes like look back and I'm like, oh, if I learned chords back then, I still like sometimes I fiddle around on piano and I play sometimes, and I'm always learning, as I said. But basically, picked up guitar when I was 12, and I wrote my first song when I was 12, released my first album when I was a junior in high school, released my second album when I was a freshman in college, and then released my third album when I was a senior in college. So, I've been touring for 7 years, and I'm in my 20s now. And music's just been a part of my DNA since I can remember. And I've just had the dream of touring across the country and around the world since I was so little. I remember when I was 13 or 14, I used to send out emails to like Colby Calais and Jack Johnson, like ask them to take me on tour with them. I never heard back, but so it's funny looking back like that.
Hey, shoot your shot. Nothing wrong with that. Well, that explains why you're now when you do a show, you just come off really seasoned and poised.
Thank
and again,
you.
maybe not all the people that go to the show, notice these things, but when I go to a show, not only do I want to enjoy the music, I want to learn something. I know as a musician and a songwriter myself, I want to learn something from who I'm seeing, because I find that if you pay attention, you can always learn something from whoever you're seeing at a concert.
Yes.
And
100%.
yeah, I would like, you just radiate a certain amount of confidence and poise, in addition to the obvious joy, and that those are some things that, like, what I would like to improve on my onstage poise and confidence. And so
Hey, there's always things to work on for all of us, right?
Always things to work on.
Yes.
What's the first song you can remember hearing in your life? Like, go back to as early as you can remember as a child. What's the first song that you remember?
I love this question. My answer is "I'm No Angel" by Allman Brothers, the Allman Brothers, Greg Allman. Yeah. Oh gosh, I remember just the chorus playing like "Oh, I'm no angel," and my dad just like, we would be dancing in the family room and he would lift me up and I would jump off the couch, and I just always love that song. And I think about my dad and family, and my parents have always been really supportive of my music career. So I just have to also give a shout out to them for all they've done for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know that one. I'm going to have to go Google it and listen to it when we're done chatting today.
Yes. What was your first song that you remember listening to, Mike? I'm curious.
It was Babe by Styx.
Okay.
In fact, let me Google it. That's a question I always ask people on my podcast, and I kind of stumbled across it on accident. But no one has ever asked me the question back. You were the first.
I think it's a great question, and I'm curious too for you. So I don't know if I know that song off the top of my head, but maybe if I heard it, I would recognize it.
So that song came out in 1979. I just Googled it because I have no idea when it came out. But it came out in 1979. I was born in 77. My parents, they had a turntable. They certainly had that album on vinyl.
Yeah.
And this is how baked in that song is. Like, I didn't know what the song was called, and I didn't know who the band was until I was in my 20s.
My gosh.
I just remember like how it went, right?
Wow.
And then eventually I stumbled across it and I was like, oh, that's that song that I remember from being a little kid. But no, I'm like, yeah, it's weird because I remember the entire song as far as verse, chorus, and the feel of it and the instrumentation. But yeah, for my whole life, I never knew what it was called until I was grown. So now you know. And also, if folks who have listened to this podcast before and heard me ask that question, now you've got the official answer, and it's Olivia's fault.
It's so powerful that you remember that song. And do you remember where you were when you heard it for the first time too?
At home.
Yeah.
Definitely at home. I don't know what room I was in, but yeah, it's a song that I heard often at home, which is why I think my parents had the vinyl. And my father since passed away, and I inherited all his vinyl, and I didn't find that one. So either, yeah, wow, like I found a whole lot of cool records in his collection, but not that one. But yeah, they had to have had it. Maybe it got lost or scratched or something, but.
Wow, the fact that you have your dad's records, that is so special.
Yeah, he's got an original copy of Rumors.
Oh my gosh, no way.
Obviously is one of the better recordings of all time, right? And
that album's one of my favorites.
Oh, it's so good. And growing up, I don't remember ever hearing it. Like, my parents never played that at the house.
Wow.
And I didn't even know he had it until after he died, and I started looking through his vinyl, and to me, it still sounds good and relevant today, and we're 40 years later.
Yep.
And just how well engineered and mixed it is with the tools available to them at that time really blows me away.
Me too.
Something that old shouldn't sound that good, should it?
I know. I listened to that album, and it just is just as relevant back then as it is now. It sounds like, it could have been made like a few years back, and it's just a masterpiece in every sense of the word. It really is.
It is. And, the generation younger than us is recently discovering it because you keep seeing it turn up in like memes and videos and
TikToks. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, I think like repressings are flying off the shelf. But yeah, I actually now I own an original pressing.
That is amazing, Mike. Oh, wow.
Yeah, there's so much music he had that I don't remember him ever playing. Like I remember him playing Toto and Rush records. He's got like 3 or 4 Parliament Funkadelic records that I don't remember ever hearing, and those are all great. Like it's
So
Shake Your
cool.
Booty music.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He had his favorites, maybe. Maybe he didn't like Rumors that much. Who knows? I don't know.
I feel like Dad was a drummer, and
Okay.
the drummer in Fleetwood Mac was pretty darn good. So I'm pretty sure he liked that record. I wish I could ask him why I never heard it growing up.
Sure. Yeah. Oh my gosh. It's so great that my dad threw away his records in 2005, and he regrets it to this day. And I'm like, yeah, Dad, you should regret it. Like, that was a bad decision. I wish that I could have had some of them, but no, more for him. Like, he's sad about it, and I'm sad about it for him. But yeah, it's just like a loss all the way around.
That's too bad. Like, even just chucking them in storage.
I know.
I mean, that does cost money, though, paying for the space, but...
It does, but it seems so worth it, of course, now when we're like, everyone's, like clawing for records, and yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you a secret. I like CDs better. I mean, I like vinyl, but no, I like CDs better. They're more portable.
Interesting, yeah.
They... Like records, because friction is involved with the playing of them, even if you treat them properly, at some point the quality is going to degrade. And such is not the case with a CD, right? Nothing ever touches that surface as long as you take care of it. You're going to get that crystal clear digital audio for life.
Yes, that's a great point. And I'm embarrassed to admit this, but I actually do not have a record player. It's something that I have been wanting recently, well, for the past few years, to get a record player, but I do not own one yet. I do own records, though. I own maybe like 10 to 12 records, and I have 3 on display in this room that I'm sitting in now. One of them, of course, is Rumors by Fleetwood Mac.
Nice.
Not the original, but... And then I have Patti Smith, Dream of Life. I love
really
Patti
nice.
Smith. And then I have Houndmouth, Good For You. Love Houndmouth, too. They're more of a recent band. I don't know if you know them.
I do not.
They're cool.
You haven't pressed any of your music to vinyl yet. Do you plan to do that sometime in the future?
Not yet. Yes, definitely yes to the future. I would love to do that. When I was on tour this past spring, summer, and fall, I did a tour, and it was amazing, and also a lot at the same time. Learned a lot too. Yeah, I'll never forget it. But I did receive several requests for, oh, Olivia, I'd love to buy a vinyl record of yours. And I'm like, oh, that's great, but I don't have one. So in the future, I definitely want to look into doing that.
I have gotten those requests too, and usually when someone asks me that, I ask them another question. Do you have any idea how much it costs to press vinyl?
I know, it's a big investment. I know, I've talked to some of my fellow artist friends about it, and what I've learned is a few of them, they mostly say that it is worth it if you do a small amount of pressings, as long as you, like, especially if you're already receiving requests for it, then it shows that there's demand. But yeah, I guess the last thing you'd really want to do is get stuck with them for a long time. But at the same time, if you perform out a lot, then over time, I'm sure they would sell eventually.
Eventually. I really wanted to put my last full length on vinyl. In fact, I sequenced it and selected the song sequence, and the songs I put on it were specifically for vinyl because of the, there's a time limit on how long each side has to be. So, but I did the math and I couldn't afford it. What I used to tell people is, well, if you want that experience when you stream it, after track 5, hit pause. You can get up and walk around for 30 seconds. And then
That's
start
hilarious.
track 6.
I love that.
Yeah,
so funny.
Best I could offer.
It's a good stage banner to say. Yeah.
If it's someday I ever have a crazy amount of extra money laying around, that record's going, I'm gonna get it pressed on vinyl, just because I would love
There you go.
I would love to hold my own album in my hand someday, just for that feeling of accomplishment, right?
Yes, absolutely. I want that for you. I'm crossing my fingers for you. One day you'll do it.
I want it for you too. That's because it feels good when you know how it feels when the CDs arrive and you unbox it.
Oh my gosh.
It's like, just right. It's like,
so
yeah.
special.
So
yeah.
To get that with vinyl would be even extra cool.
Absolutely. Yeah. Wow. So great.
Last of the prepared questions. I didn't write them down. I just have them in my head. And this question I stole from another podcast. What did your childhood smell like?
Ooh, what a cool question. My childhood smelled like vinegar. My mom would use vinegar to clean things. It smelled like bean chili. It smelled like pancakes on Saturday mornings. It smelled like the Cincinnati air, which is to me like I think every city has its own smell, but Cincinnati is so distinct. Maybe just from like growing up there, it just really has a smell. And there was a soap factory near my house, and so sometimes it would smell like cinnamon or lavender. So those would be the smells of my childhood.
Do we owe Procter and Gamble for the soap factory? Is that...
I think so. Yep, definitely a subsidiary of some sort. Mm-hmm.
Yep, that's pretty cool. Man, I don't like the smell of vinegar. I do if I'm cooking with it, like the red wine and the white wine vinegar and whatnot.
Yeah.
But the stuff that people clean with, I can't stand it. So yeah.
Really? That's funny. I know people, it's so funny. Like, how some people are like, oh, I love the smell of gasoline, things like that. I do not. I know. I do not like the smell of gasoline at all. I know people who do, but it's funny because I do like the smell of vinegar because it reminds me of like a clean house, clean, kind of thing. But everyone has their, preferred smells.
Yep. And it's crazy how tied in that is with memory.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I mean, I haven't ever been asked that question, and I love it. I'm gonna have to ask my friends that question and stuff because I'm so curious with other people in my life. But it's cool how I was able to just recall, those different things so quickly.
Yeah, smell takes you back in a way that, like, sometimes things that you hear don't necessarily take you back the same way.
Absolutely. So all of our senses are so powerful, each of them.
Which is why they're useful for song lyrics.
Yes. It's also funny. I do have a hook in my hook book that I have not written, but it just comes to mind with the word smell triggering my memory. It's a title. This is a title for a song. It has not been written. It's called If a Song Had a Smell.
Wow.
I remember I shared it with one of my co-writers, and his response was, smell is such a weird word. I don't know if that should be in the title. That was just one. That was one of my co-writers.
Did he want you to switch it out for scent?
I don't know. We didn't get too far. I don't think he liked the idea very much, which is fine. Maybe it's meant to be written with someone else, or maybe not at all. Who knows?
I like it. I think you should write that song.
Okay. Thanks, Mike. Okay, good input. I'll have to write that down and as a task for next year.
So, other than OliviaFrancesMusic.com, where can people find you?
Sure. So people can find me everywhere on all social media platforms under Hey Olivia Frances, and Frances is Frances. So that's Hey Olivia Frances, except for Twitter, which unfortunately limits your username to 15 characters. So it's Hi Olivia Frances on Twitter.
So,
but everything's on my website.
Is H-E-Y, not H-A-Y.
Yes. Hey, as in hello. H-E-Y, Olivia Frances. Thank you for specifying. Yes.
You spelled Francis, so I feel like we should probably also spell hey. It's the same
I can spell
E.
the whole thing.
The same E in Francis is the E in hey.
True. H-E-Y-O-L-I-V-I-A-F-R-N-F-R-A-N-C-E-S. Yeah.
There you go. If that was a spelling bee, you would have got dinged. They don't want you to go back and correct.
I know. I was in a spelling bee in 4th grade, and I spelled the word gorgeous wrong, and I was out. So that was the word for me. I'll always remember.
Isn't it hilarious how we always remember the word we missed? I missed precocious when I was in 7th grade. So
that's a hard word. I don't know how to spell that now.
I do, because I got it wrong at a spelling bee and will never spell it wrong again.
Wow. I feel like, gorgeous. I think for me, that spelling bee was maybe 4th grade. So I was younger, but it is really funny how that works. And then the certain words just really will always stand out.
Yeah, I'm 45 and still remember that. So.
Wow. Wild. I know. And then spelling and songwriting, it's all interrelated, right?
It is all interrelated. I would like to thank you for taking time to talk to me today. This is the part we're going to say goodbye to the listeners. Do you have a final message for them?
My gosh, Mike, thank you so much for asking me to be on your podcast. It was so wonderful to chat with you today. And thanks so much for your your sweet, thoughtful questions. Really appreciated it. And listeners, thank you for taking time out of your day to listen to this interview. And I would love to stay connected with y'all. Again, you can find me at oliviafrancesmusic.com. And I'm looking forward to coming back to Dayton in 2023 to perform, and just the Ohio area in general. Being from Cincinnati, I'm a proud Ohioan living in Nashville, Tennessee. So thanks for listening.
Outstanding. Again, thanks. And I can't wait to see you next time you come back up here.
Yes. Can't wait to see you too, Mike.
Thank you once again to Olivia Frances for taking the time to talk to me. Thank you, dear listener, for being here. If Olivia happens to be on tour and comes near your area, I strongly recommend going to check her out in person. She puts on a really good live show. Also, if you don't mind, I would really like it if you would subscribe to this podcast on the podcast listening platform of your choice, or also, write me up a recommendation or click that like button wherever you listen. Thanks. You'll get another episode this Friday.